Well, praise the Lord, everybody, and welcome to Nite Line. Tonight, we are honoring Veterans Day, and I tell you what, we're going to have such a wonderful time tonight on Nite Line. And first of all, I just want to thank all the veterans and everyone for your service and all that you're doing for our country, and how the Holy Spirit, how God is using you to keep our country safe and protect. And not only you, but we're thankful for your families tonight. We're thankful for the ones that you leave behind, or far, when you are far away from home. We bless the Lord tonight. We have some amazing guests, and they're going to be sharing their testimonies of the goodness of the Lord, and what all they have had to encounter and gone through. But we want you to celebrate this time with us. I do have a scripture that I would love to share tonight. It's lifted from the book of St. John, the 15th chapter, the 13th verse, from the New King James Version. And it reads, "Greater love has no one than this, that a man lay down one's life for his friends." Isn't it an awesome word from the Lord tonight? You know, we all have an assignment from God that the Holy Spirit has given us. And some of us are doctors, and some of us are nurses, and some of us are in the military. And so, you know, each one of us have an assignment. Jesus himself had an assignment. And his assignment was to come into this world to lay down his life for our sins, that we would have a right to the tree of life. And again, it reads, "Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends." And a lot of times, you know, when people go away in the military, you know, there's no guarantee that they're going to make it back home. There's no guarantee that they're going to see their families again. That's why it's so important for us to recognize our veterans, recognize those in the military, recognize those that are away from home, and not only recognize them, but pray for them. Pray that the Lord would keep them, and that he would keep his arms around them and protect them. And the ones that are dealing with different circumstances in their life, different issues. Maybe they've gone through some tragedies or some hurts or loss of a limb or anything like that. We want you to know that you are not by yourself. We want you to know, Nightline wants you to know that we are here for you, that we are praying for you, and we want you to be encouraged in your walk with the Lord. We want you to know that the hand of God is on your life, that you are blessed way above measure. We want you to know that we are praying for you. We have some amazing prayer partners. So if you need to call in tonight, if you're going through anything, if anything is going through, you having issues in your mind or in your body, call us tonight. We want to hear from you. We want to talk with you. We want to encourage you in the things of God. If you need prayer, if you're sick in your body, if anything, we don't care what it is. Call us tonight. But right now, we're getting ready to go and just have a wonderful time tonight. And we hope that you will enjoy this Veterans Day celebration. To God be all the glory. Amen.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight was a rampart we
sir, let's start with your name, branch of service, and rank while you were in the service, Mr. Bolt.
Well, I was in combat engineers when I was in Korea, and I was a staff sergeant, and operated heavy equipment. Before I went in the service, I worked for a car lumber company. It was they had a sawmill, and we got logs out of the wood and loaded them on trucks, and they shipped them to Pisgah Forest down here to a sawmill. And that's the type of work I done before I went into the service. We was about maybe 8 or 10 miles from front lines, and so they came into our outfit one night. It was about, I guess, maybe 10 or 11 o'clock, and wanted us to send a dozer to the front lines to build a road. And we was to report to the 3rd Division and the 7th Regiment to do this, build this road. So when we got there, it was near daylight, breaking daylight. So we had breakfast, and the lieutenant that I was working for, he told us to unload our dozer off of a trailer and for me to follow him. And so I followed him for the next few days, and we cut this road up this mountain get ammunition in and get supplies in and have a road where they get wounded people out. A lot of times late in the evening, they start putting mortar shells in on us, you know. And so the dozer had a big blade on it. And so me and that lieutenant, when they get pretty hot, you know, we just get behind that blade on that dozer, and it would protect us from the fire. And then when it'd slack up, we'd go again, and then if they fired again, then we'd have to stop and get behind the blade of that dozer for protection. And saved their lives, probably.
I've also read that you got put in for a Bronze Star. So what was that?
Well,
like?
it was really neat, you know, and it's an honor to receive something like that and be turned in for it. So the lieutenant that I was working for, the night before I was leaving to go back to my outfit, he called me in the tent, and he wanted to talk to me. And so when I went to the tent, we talked about the project that we had done, and we was under fire during the time of working on the road. And he told me that he was going to turn me in for a Bronze Star. And so the day that they give me the Bronze Star, they had all 3 battalions to go to the parade field. And I was in my company, standing at the back of the other battalion, and there was a lieutenant came down to where I was standing, and I followed him to a reviewing stand where they would parade in front of me, and I would sit in the reviewing stand, and post commander, he pinned the Bronze Star on me, 3rd Foot Watch Eagle. And it was a great thrill, you know, to receive it.
That's got to be a pretty solid celebration. Well done.
Yeah, it was. It was really nice, you know, to receive it. And I was happy to get it, and I was happy that I could do the work that they needed me to do to receive it.
Is there anything else that stands out in your memory from your time in Korea?
Well, there was this different project that we worked on during the time that I was in Korea. Built roads and repaired roads, and we built approaches for bridges to be put across the river. And I was cut off from my company one time for about a week, but it was on account of flooded rivers and stuff that I was just cut off from them, and I couldn't get back to them. So I worked for this this outfit for about a week, and it was during the rainy season, and I had no bed except in my dozer seat. I slept in that dozer seat for about a week, and I just dried off from the rain from a smokestack of that dozer, and so it was a pretty rough week. And then later they got to me, and then I went back to my outfit.
Sometimes home is just where you make it.
Yeah, but it's different things like that. That what we done it was exciting work, and it was dangerous work, but we just got used to doing it, and so it's just another day's work. One time we went up to the bridges was blowed out, the one across the Han River. It was south of Seoul, and so there was a crew of us went up to help build that bridge across the Han River, and it was a floating bridge. You just put sections in it at a time till you made it across the river. And then our tents and stuff that we slept in was on the beach of the Han River, and then there was the artillery brigade that was setting up behind us that kept firing on the enemy while we was building the bridge across the river. When I got out of service, I thought, well, I'd go to operating heavy equipment summers, on a construction job or something like that. And then I messed around for about a month and didn't do anything. And so there's a guy come up. I was parked on the street over here, and this guy come up to me, and I knew him from years ago, and he asked me to take him down to the Coosta Paper Corporation to see if he could get a job. He'd been working in Newport News, and so he came back home, and he needed a job. He had a family, and he asked me to take him down there to see if he could get a job. And so I took him down there, and he said, you might as well go in with me and put you in an application. And I said, well, I will. And I went in with him, and so there's about 20 people in an employment office that was looking for a job. And so they interviewed most all of them, and I was about the last one that they interviewed. And the guy asked me what I've been doing. I told him I just got out of service and I hadn't done anything yet. And he said, you take this application and fill it out and bring it back tomorrow. And I took the application back to him, and he looked it over, and he asked me when would I like to go to work. And so I said, well, maybe Monday. It's about Tuesday or Wednesday. And so I went back on Monday and took my physical at the medical center, and then I went to work at Coosta, and I worked there 38 years.
So is there anything that you learned during your time in Korea that you were able to carry over into the workforce?
Well, no, not really. It was entirely different. from operating heavy equipment to making paper, and it was just a different job, you know. Never did operate the more heavy equipment.
Well, I could definitely understand you put in your time and effort there.
Yeah, I did. But it was quite an experience, you know.
I can only imagine, and just want to thank you for your service and your time and your dedication to go overseas and help serve.
Oh yeah, it was an honor, you know, to do it, and I was lucky through the whole operation over there that I never did get wounded. It was a good experience, you know, but it was kind of rough sometimes.
But it helps to have, I'm sure, good people looking out for you in some
Oh
cases.
yeah, a lot of prayers. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I hear the sound of singing re-echo in my mind. The song of freedom streaming with hope for all to find. The wellspring of this treasure, the Spirit of the Lord, to those who do His pleasure, is liberty untold. Let freedom sing an eternal song. Let freedom sing ever sure and strong. May the simple music of her voice never be ignored. May the thrilling message on her lips never be adored. Let silence crawl away in shame and fear. When freedom's voice resounds on the roots to hear. Lift your voice and join the grand symphony of freedom. Let freedom sing, let freedom sing. May the simple music of her voice never be ignored. May the thrilling message on her lips never be adored. Let silence crawl away, shame and shame. When freedom's voice resounds on the world to hear. Lift your voice and join the grand symphony of freedom. Lift up your voice and let freedom
We are rolling.
Okay, roll. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, Mr. Kolik, let's start with your branch of service and the rank you had when you were serving.
Well, I was in the Air Force, and when I got out, I was a captain in the Air Force. I was in from 1967 to 1972.
And since you served in Vietnam, how aware were you of the country's involvement as things started to ramp up, escalate?
Oh, I was very, very aware of it. In fact, I volunteered right out of college because I could see the war was really ramping up pretty good, and I wanted to fly all the time, so I enlisted in flight training and was a navigator and a radar navigator on B-52s.
And where did that love of flying come from?
I don't know. I just always have just looked to that as an ambition. In fact, I took some private lessons when I was in high school, but I never really pursued it too much. But I really pursued it after I got out of college.
And so you volunteer for Vietnam, and you jump in the plane of all planes, a B-52.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about getting to fly one of those, or being a navigator on one of those.
Well, we were, as a navigator, and then you upgrade to a radar navigator, we work as a team, and we try to get to those points plus or minus 1 minute. We would coordinate the air refueling with the air refueling tankers and make sure that we were on time for that, or else we were out of gas. And then we'd proceed into the targets. We'd look for the targets, make sure we were on the right target, and made sure all the switches and radar scopes were in tune so that we could drop our bombs right on the target, plus or minus 1 minute.
And that's a lot of coordination that has to happen, not only with you and your air crew in the plane, but other air crews, ground crews, and
Right.
so on.
Right. And I have all the respect in the world for the ground crews that made our planes ready for us, because in 105 combat missions, we never had a plane that we had a serious problem with.
Never.
We had some minor problems, but we were able to overcome them, and but never had a major problem with the B-52 over there. So I commend those people to the utmost, because they are the guys that kept us safe.
How was the complication level from going from navigator to that level of radar navigator?
It's not that hard. As a navigator, you're in charge of basically navigating the plane, coordinating with the pilots on how to turn, where to turn. Radar navigator works right alongside. It's kind of like a co-pilot-pilot situation. And so it's not really that hard. With a radar navigator, you're more responsible for acquiring the target, making sure you're on the right target. Along with the navigator, you work as a team, and you say, okay, yeah, that's the right target. We can score. All the switches are in the right position. You got a regular checklist you have to go through that takes about 3 minutes, and make sure all the switches are in place. And then when they're all set and you got the radar crosshairs on the target, the rest goes bombs away, and that's it. I was talking to guys on the ground, and they said that, now we flew in cells of 3 ships, okay, or 3 planes. Each one of them carried 108 bombs. And we all hit the same target box, which was 3 miles long and 1 mile wide. So we had 308 bombs going into that target box. And I talked to guys on the ground, and 2 of them confirmed that each crater was 17 feet wide and 17 feet deep. So whatever we hit, we annihilated.
It was gone.
Yeah, that's right.
Precision at its best.
That's right. That's right.
And do you have a particular memory or two that stands out from whether you were on the ground or in the air or on one of your 105 missions?
Well, when we were on the ground one time in Thailand, and we were coming out to pre-fire our plane about 2 in the morning, and about an hour before that, a zapper got through the lines of the base and actually had a satchel, and he was shot and killed about 3 planes away from our plane. So we got there, and they were just hauling the guy off as a corpse.
And how about, is there a particular air mission that stands out to you that you got to go on?
Probably one that really stands out more than anything would be when we flew a plane. This wasn't a combat mission, but this was a mission that I flew a plane. We had to ferry a plane over to Guam, and we had to fly. And I was a brand new navigator, and I was flying over the Pacific with little or no support, and I made it to Guam within 20 miles. So I was proud of that.
A little bit of nerves, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Just a little
you,
bit of
you
nerves.
got that right. Because if you miss your refueling point or anything like that, you're, like I say, you're out of gas.
And so, what's your overall reflection looking back on your time served during Vietnam?
I am really proud of the job we did and proud of the 105 missions that I flew and being able to drop our bombs on target, on time, and save a lot of lives. There's one instance that I'll pass on to you. We were on R&R, our whole crew was on R&R in Taipei. And we went to one bar and we met up with some Marines. There was about 20 Marines there and our crew was 6. And they were so thankful for our bombs that saved their lives. We never had to buy a drink the whole night.
That's pretty cool when you get that kind of notoriety.
Yes, I'm very proud of that because that tells that not only our crew but all the rest of the crews were doing the job that we're supposed to do.
Now, this might be a little difficult question, but how did you feel about the media coverage, the media exposure of Vietnam?
I would have to say that I thought the media coverage was mediocre at best. I think it was slanted in a lot of ways, but that's the way it was at the time, and there's nothing we could do about it. We just were over there to do a mission. We completed our mission and did the best we can, and in all honesty, I didn't really pay a lot of attention to what the feedback was back in the States because we never got that, really.
You were there to do a job, and you did that job.
That's right.
Anything else you want to tell us about flying?
Well, I had 105 combat missions. I got 5 air medals, and I got a marksmanship commendation medal, and about 4 or 5 other medals that I can't remember right now. But the big one was the air medals because that just showed that we did the job and got the job done.
And was the marksmanship award, was that for your accuracy of
Yeah.
dropping?
No, it was for pistols.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
handguns.
Well, still, that's still something to be very, very proud of.
Right, right.
How about getting out of the service post-war? What did you do, and how was adjustment back to civilian life?
It was really pretty good. I got out in April of 1972. I got married to my fiance in July of 1972. And I got into sales and sales marketing with a business consulting company called Standard Register. Mm-hmm. And I did that for 28 and a half years and enjoyed every minute of it. And got some top awards there also, and then retired in 2003.
Is there anything that you felt that you learned while serving that you were able to carry over into your post-war life?
Not really. We were living in Milwaukee at the time, and I contacted the Air National Guard to try to hook up with them to be a navigator in their unit. But they said they were all full with navigators. They didn't have any openings. So I just kind of let it go, and I kept checking in with them about every year. And after about 3 years, I got the letter where I was discharged from my commission and was free to roam the country. And about 2 weeks later, the gentleman from the Air National Guard contacted me and says, "Hey, we've got an opening for a navigator." And I said, well, I explained the situation. I says, well, I asked, what do you recommend? He says, well, we could try to do it, but there's a lot of red tape. It would probably take 2 years to try to get you back reinstated. So I just kind of forgot about that. So I never did pursue flying at all once I got out.
To fallen soldiers, let us sing.
My name is Angel S. Martinez. Nickname is Kelly. I was I fought in World War II as a machine gunner. I served under the United States Army. I was with the 89th Infantry Division, the 333rd Regiment, 3rd Battalion. I'm a Native American, Navajo. There were 10 of us in the family. Of course, I always forget myself, counting myself. Anyway, it was pretty rough in those days. Uh, I think we complain today about the situations, that are going on, but in those days it was just that would have been nothing really, because we had just gone through the depression, and my dad always brought that up. Uh, couldn't hardly buy anything, but we had a farm, or he had a farm. My dad had a farm, and we had horses, we had cattle, we had chickens, and we had pigs. And that's real nice when you look at it that way. But I tell you what, it's a lot of work. When I look back, it was rough, but it was nice, because some of the things that I learned through my dad and that type of life was some of the things that helped me during the war. I didn't really join the service. I was drafted. In those days, World War II, they had some people that joined, but most of us were drafted. And when you became 18, you were supposed to go to the local board and sign your name and just wait till they call you. And that's what they did in my case. We used to call it greetings. You get greetings from President Roosevelt. Yeah, they were desperate for people. I was 18 at the time. That was in 1940, 44. Basic training was kind of rough. For me, it wasn't too rough, but I tell you what, there were some youngsters there that didn't go through some of the rough stuff that I did, in the farm. So, but it was rough. Boy, I'm telling you, some of the things that they did, I thought it was crazy stuff, but I learned later that they came in handy. Like running through the water and going under machine gun firing, and simulated this, simulated that. I have a lot, when it comes to simulating. See, in the farm, my dad had a shotgun, and every once in a while he would take me hunting. And one day he taught me how to fire the shotgun, and boy, he didn't tell me about the recoil on that thing, and it knocked me over. So I knew then I learned. We spent quite a bit of time in the range. I started learning the machine gun, and so I wound up being a machine gunner. But then at the meantime, the 17 weeks were over in Camp Robert. So after that, they gave me a delaying route. I came home for a while, and then after that, we went on a troop train, and we went up here in North Carolina. After we left Butler, North Carolina, we went to Boston, Massachusetts. And then from there, we boarded the ship and left for Europe. Before we arrived there, I used to get up on top of the ship there, and I could look every direction that I could see. It was too much going up and down. And let me tell you one thing, I was so sick I couldn't hardly eat. I felt like I had the flu all the time. So when we arrived in France, I was glad that we did it, because I was so sick in that ship. I never been on a ship before, and not for 13 days anyway. That's what it took us to get across. When we onboarded the ship, I thought we were going to get a train or maybe a bus or maybe good transportation. They loaded up on trucks, and no canvas on top, and it was raining and cold. I tell you, it was miserable. But I was glad to get out because I was already sick anyway. By the time we started setting up the tent, morning came, and we slept whatever we could. And all of a sudden, here comes this plane and scraping us, It's the first Nazi plane that I have seen, And I was amazed because I didn't think that they would be doing that to us. And he went all around the post, just shooting here and there, and I couldn't do much because I didn't have the machine gun with me. But anyway, as the troops started arriving, I could see some tanks coming in now. And we felt more secure now because we were getting help. The tanks were coming in, and finally that pilot made a mistake, I guess, came over, and one of the tanks got him down. That's the first thing that I have ever seen in, real. So then I start thinking, I start realizing that this thing was real. So after that, we left that place, and it was, I think we went into Reims, France, and that's where we started fighting. That's when we really start seeing them. But before we got there, I could see we were walking through this farm and land, open field, and I could see a lot of dead animals, dead dead soldiers, Nazis, and also ourselves, a lot of things going on. Then I start thinking this is war. First thing that I was thinking, and some of the guys were having problem with it because when we were looking at it as shooting a human being, and I'm really going to tell you this because I tell you what, it's rough, You start thinking, well, there's humans like we are, but there's a war going on, and you know that if you don't get them, you're going to get you. And I was talking to some of the rifle people who were coming over, and they said, well, I got me 3, I got me 2, and so they were counting what they got, And I said, my goodness, that's bad, they got human people. But anyway, that's the way it was. But after a while, you get used to it. You don't once, especially when they kill one of your friends and you see your friend die, then you really get mad, and that, I guess, getting mad, it takes care of the rest of the stuff because it did on me. We were in a small, looked like appeared like a forest, like the black forest that you read about, and there was some area there that the trees were kind of cut down. And Lieutenant Reeser comes over and he says, you know what? He says, Marty, we're going to have to use our machine guns. I says, okay. So he says, why don't you go ahead and set up the machine gun in the crossroad and start, he gave me directions, where to fire and all of that. And I said, no problem. He says, I'll give you the signal in a little while, and as soon as the company start moving, because I was trained to fire overhead firing over the troops. And when the rifle company advanced, or whoever was advancing, I would fire over them so that I could keep the enemy pinned down, and then they would advance. So anyway, the order comes in to start firing. And in the meantime, Fee comes over to me, which one of my friends, from the other platoon that had the other machine gun. He's opened up his wallet, and he showed me a picture of his wife and 2 daughters that he had. He says, this is my wife and 2 daughters. And I said, gosh, I says, you're married? Yeah, oh yeah. He says, are you? And we started the conversation there. At the meantime, Lieutenant Reeser says, well, go ahead and start firing, And he pulled out a little way from that, and on the grass was real tall. Well, when I start firing, I noticed the troops were advancing, and I noticed that that building up there was supposed to be a building, had a little door, and they opened the door, and it was a pillbox. I don't know if people remember the pillbox, but anyway, it was a building made out of concrete, especially for protect you from firing, from small arm firing anyway. And that guy was firing at the troops, and man, I started firing, and I couldn't hit the little window, in the building, because the bullets kept bouncing. I could see the tracers hitting the side of the wall, but I couldn't see nothing penetrating the window. So I don't know how long that went, because it seemed like it was a long time. But anyway, at the meantime, one of the riflemen with a grenade, he fired the rifle grenade, and hit the window, and that was the end of that. I seen the smoke come up and everything. Well, at the meantime, we were being bombarded with artillery. Oh man, artillery, fire, and everything else. And once I start firing the machine gun, it smokes, because it was a water-cooled machine gun. I knew that once that thing starts smoking like that, I would have to move, because I learned that from the Germans themselves, because every time they fired the machine gun, they kept on moving. And I knew then why, because once you start firing that machine gun, it gave you away your position. So at the meantime, I noticed one round hit pretty close in the front of me, artillery. And then another round hit in the back. And then I don't even know how many rounds. And at the meantime, one of them got so close that shrapnel flew everywhere. And that concussion knocked my machine gun down. So I picked it up and the best way I could, again, and I start firing again. And like I said, I don't know, I'm not, what is it? I couldn't give the details what actually happened, but it seemed like it went for a while. Anyway, I don't know how long it was, but I noticed the rifle company had advanced up to where they were supposed to go, and then I had to cease firing because I didn't want to kill them. So at the meantime, Lieutenant Risa says, we're going to pull back. So they assembled the machine gun and called for the help, and they came over and they picked up the rest of the weapon, and we pulled back. And I said, wait a minute, where's Fee? And he said, Fee is probably here somewhere. Oh, he's probably goofing off somewhere, somebody said that. I said, no, I guess he's here somewhere. So I started looking around and I found him. And when I found the body, I noticed that he had a piece of shrapnel that went through his back and came out to the front. And I know he bled to death. And I know that he got killed right away. So that's one of the consolations I had, that at least he died right away. And in those days, we didn't have like today, you see in the movies or in television or the news where the chopper comes over and picks up the dead. Well, in those days, we didn't have that. We didn't have that comfort. If you got hit or wounded or something, you just either died there. If you were able to walk, you walked. Maybe 2 days later, Captain Howe came over and he says, do you know where the dead are? I said, yes. He said, Marty, you're going to have to go with the medics and show them where the dead are so they can pick them up. I said, okay. I went, the medic came over with a Jeep. I took him where the area was, and it must have been a little ways from where we were then. We got close to the forest there. We could see a German, We could see a German underneath the trees there. And he says, he's dead. I said, no. Carney was his name, the medic. I said, no, Carney, he's not dead. Look at his stomach. You could see that he was breathing from far. He said, well, what are we going to do? I said, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. I said, we're going to make him think there's a lot of us. And I learned that from the Germans too. I said, we're going to make a lot of noise. We're going to make him think we're a lot of us. And he's going to get up and he's going to get scared and he's going to surrender. Well, I was hoping that he would, because the medics didn't have a weapon and I had a carbine. And I didn't trust the carbine because I was used to the machine gun. So anyway, we made a lot of noise. We hollered in Spanish. I hollered in Spanish, English, German, whatever I could, made much noise as I could. And he did the same thing with the Jeep out there, banging whatever he could. And one of them came out. And then another one came out. And another one. Then 17 came out of that forest. And as they came out, one of them says, you're scared. He told me in English, he said, you're scared. And I said, come and see here. I brought him over to me and I said, where did you learn English? He says, he says, I'm a German soldier. He says, but I'm not a Nazi. He says, well, he's there. He says, we have a lot of weapons and we were going to hit you guys from behind. And we were just taking a break. He says, but what are you going to do? I said, tell them that I want them all to line up here. And I made him make a line. And I said, I tell them that I need every one of them to drop the ammunition or weapons or whatever they have. And if I see anybody, or later on I catch anybody with weapons or anything, I says, I'm just going to take him over here and kill him. I says, I'm not going to put up with it. So he says, so he told him in German, and let me tell you, they had enough ammunition and weapons to get us from behind. And if they would have gotten it, well, I wouldn't be telling you the story. Anyway, so after we captured them, we searched them, and we called the military police, and they came over and picked them up. And at the meantime, we had to go pick up the dead now. I went over and told the medic where the Fee was at. And the truck came over because they had a 6x6 truck, and they had a canvas. And the canvas, the reason that I'm saying that is because with the canvas, I couldn't see nothing there except the truck. So they they got over and picked up Fee, my friend, and they threw him in there. And they threw him in there, you just heard the hat hit one of the boards. And I said, wait a minute, guys, that's my friend. He says, look under there. And I pick up a canvas and look in there, and they were like cigarettes in there, bodies. The truck was almost loaded with bodies, that we lost in there. I didn't think that there were that many, but there were quite a few. So that's the reason that a lot of times when somebody got wounded or something happened, that's the thing that got you. You know, we decided, hey, they're not going to get me, or they're not going to get my friends. So that's what we were fighting for. Now, when we got to the concentration camps, it's a different story because now you start really seeing what what the people were going through. And you mentioned concentration camp Udraf. When we got there, the first thing that I noticed for miles and miles, you could, well, I don't know how many miles, but anyway, you could smell the death. You could smell it, and something was going on. So anyway, we arrived at that place. We couldn't get in, and some of those guys in there, that the prisoners, they were making V signs with their finger, V shape. Some of them were almost naked. Some of them you could count the ribs on them, and we couldn't get in to help them at the time. And funny, one of the tanks came over and he rammed the gate because they had two fences. They had a big fence on the outside, and then they had another fence on the inside, and in the middle they had an electric wire fence. So you couldn't get in. So he jammed the gate. When he jammed the gate, the rifle companies, they got in. Start searching for the guard and start searching everything. At the meantime, there was a guy there, a man there by the gate, and he had a can, and he had a little fire going. And I look at the can, and he had some potatoes there, the size of a quarter, a bunch of potatoes in the can. He was boiling potatoes. And he could speak Italian. He says, come over and eat some bush macaroni. And I said, are you a prisoner here? He says, yeah. He says, I've been here 5 years. He said, let me show you the place. So he took me around, and showed me some of the places. I'll tell you what, there were dead bodies everywhere. And that place stunk. Oh, man. There was a train there, and the box cars was full of bodies. Some of them have been there for a long time because you could see the evidence in the bodies, And then in the inside, you could see the ones that were alive, barely making it. Some of them were so sick they couldn't do anything. But they imagined to make the V sign for you, You talk about people giving you hugs. You got a lot of hugs there, but you don't want no hugs because I tell you what, man, everything stunk in there. It was so bad. It's hard. That's hard to explain because in the movie Saving Private Ryan, you can see the movie and you can see a lot of things there. But I tell you one thing, you don't get the odor. And boy, I stayed with you. As I'm talking to you now, I can almost smell that. So anyway, some of the live people there, I don't know how they made it. If it would have been me, I think I would have killed myself. I don't know. At that time, the lieutenant comes over and he says, we got to pull out. I said, yeah, I think we better. I was glad to get out of there because I'll tell you what, I look at the chambers where they were burning them, the bodies, and they couldn't burn them anymore. The bodies were in there so bad that you couldn't ignite them at all. And I heard later on, about a day or so after that, I heard that Patton and Eisenhower, both generals, were in there, and I understand that even Patton got sick over that. And Eisenhower made a remark, and I still have the remarks in my folder somewhere, where he said that he wanted every GI that was in Europe to see that place so they would know what they were fighting for. Well, I tell you what, it made more than a believer in me. After that, you didn't care, anymore. But see, a lot of things you have to also, I did, through my praying. And I think if it wouldn't have been for God, I don't know what I would have done. I even feel sorry for those SS troopers because sometimes the guard being there, and I sure as heck wouldn't want to be placed in a situation like that because Hitler had a hold on them. They either obey the orders or they get shot, they get killed. And to be a guard in a place like that, knowing all those things were going on, I don't see you would have to have your heart made out of rock I guess. I couldn't even explain that. For a human to see some human going through that and I can't help them. Thank God that I learned how to pray because I tell you what, it was rough. It makes you appreciate life. It makes you appreciate other humans. And that's about the way we work because when we got replacements, a lot of the replacements that we got, a lot of times, some of them didn't even know how to disassemble a weapon. But I tell you what, I took my time to teach them. Every bit that I did, not because, showing off or anything, compassion, that you get. It's hard. I don't see how, like I say, I don't know how a man like Hitler, would do anything like that to some other humans. But it's even going on today, you know that. Excuse me.